that we need to deliver a fair system, but also that copes with working women. As a working mother, I know exactly what working women are facing and what working mothers are facing. I'm particularly keen to pursue the low pay bargaining provisions. I think they're absolutely essential. And I must say, I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that in the bill, so I'll quite like to keep that there.
Thank you, Rachel. Come on, don't be enthusiastic. Okay, Yvette. Now, you know, you work in an electorate of Petrie that is indeed a working electorate. Absolutely, absolutely, it's all right, you don't need a late night this morning. Absolutely central to the lives and the incomes of people in your electorate is, of course, work. What would you think women in your electorate would want to change in their workplaces to make their lives a bit easier?
I think the bottom line would have to be flexibility. Knowing that as a woman who's got 2 young kids who are 6 and 8, who had a husband who took parental leave, which is still too uncommon, way too uncommon. I'm a big proponent of encouraging males out there in the workplace as well to do their fair share and to step up and take parental leave. So one thing I'd say, Sharon, is whenever we talk about maternity leave, I do encourage we start having a discussion about parental leave as well, and men actually having time off with their babies. But my electorate is about talking to mothers about how we can find that balance from. It is so important that balance. I've worked full time, done a law degree at night, got elected with 2 young kids in tow, and a husband who's a shift worker. So I know the importance of balance and flexibility.
And the right to request part-time or indeed to say over the roster of hours is central to that. Claire, a long-time advocate, of course, for women, but also a union woman of whom we're very proud, and of course national co-convener of Emily's List. Claire, what is it? What's the bit of unfinished business for women that you personally want to absolutely see put through the legislative process, enshrined in law, absolutely stamped in terms of the Australian legacy for women of the Rudd government? But it's a clear more special.
Sounds like something you buy over the counter, doesn't it? In terms of process, I think so many women in this room have shared the battle just to have our voices acknowledged and heard. So I think that is the underlying thing. But certainly pay equity. I grew up hearing about the struggles of pay equity, and I could not believe that in 2009 we would still have to be here saying we have to achieve it after being told over and over again that we have. And I think that's what's so intensive. Certainly as an ex-public servant, actually as a current public servant, one of the things that appalls me is the issue around paternal leave. Because in my employment, we've had it for over 20 years. And the inference that you can't have a strong, effective economy whilst acknowledging the right to have an effective parental scheme in the system is just wrong. So pay equity and parental leave to start, Sharon.
Absolutely. And of course, another champion for women, a woman union leader. What is it, Anne, that you think we have to so Senator Crossan is here. Come on up. What is it that you think we must deliver that will take us along the road to pay equity?
Thanks very much, Sharon. Well, it's a very big list, but since I've been a member of Parliament for 3.5 years, I've noticed the people who come through my door in the electorate office seeking assistance are in the main women, and the reason they end up in an MP's office is because they are absolutely desperate. They're either got an issue with Centrelink because they're on welfare, they can't access their super, which they need earlier because they're in financial strife. They've got problems getting suitable accommodation for themselves and their family because they're usually low income earners. The absolute importance is to get women's wages increased so they don't end up in that desperate situation, so that they are
She's a young woman who had a baby along the way. What is it, Sarah, that you think South Australian women need most of all in terms of giving their lives some dignity in balancing work and life?
Well, I don't think it's just unique to South Australia. I think it's around the country. I guess as a young woman, I've been I've benefited from the fights and the struggles of the older generations, the women even up here in front of us. Yes. Claire, the old unionist. I've benefited so much from the fights and the struggles that women who have been role models for me my entire life, and yet we still have some way to go. And I think for South Australian working mothers around the country, I think what working mothers want for Mother's Day in this year's budget is paid parental leave and quality childcare.
Of course, Jodie Campbell, another champion who we're delighted to say is now in Parliament from, of course, Launceston, where again she was absolutely central to the coordination and the support of getting decent rights at work back in place. Jodie, what is it? What's the issue?
I think, Sharon, we are now living in the 21st century, and I think it is an absolute disgrace on this country that we have 157 countries that do have a paid maternity leave scheme. We know that it's only Australia and the USA that don't have one, so that's something, as I said, that I think is a national disgrace. The women in my electorate, the women that I represent, it's what everyone, I think, is hanging on to. I guess as an elected female in this parliament, but also as a proud union member, but also as a mother of two, it's time to deliver. In fact, I just think it's just time. So I'll certainly be an advocate, as I know every woman in this room will be.
Thank you, Jodie. And John Sullivan, again, achieved what everybody thought wasn't possible, except those of us on the ground in Longman who knew that John was out there listening to constituents. He's the politician he actually beat was in fact not. And of course we're talking about Mount Bruff. But John Sullivan, having listened to women in your electorate, what are they telling you?
Well, thank you, Sharon. Firstly, if I underline my esteemed colleagues have said in relation to the low paid work provision, but also the Longman electorate is an outer urban electorate in Brisbane. Those who don't know probably of Penrith in relation to Sydney 20 years ago. That's where we are now. And our young women and our women of working age generally lack opportunity. They lack opportunity to get decent jobs. The ones that they have are those sorts of jobs that become quite fragile in the kind of situation we have now. So I'm looking particularly not only to improve the things that we've already spoken about today, but to do things to help them get an education so that they can look for a much, shall we say, higher ranking of jobs and professions. And of course, once they get into that sort of field, that's when maternity leave becomes really important, because returning to those jobs is much more difficult than returning to jobs that are, I don't wish to sound condescending, but retail jobs, which one of my daughters works in, there a lot of